Donald Trump's Jeffrey Epstein scandal is ripping MAGA apart, not only because voters are breaking with him over his defense of pedophiles, Republicans in Congress are refusing to bend the knee, but within Donald Trump's White House, in his own cabinet, in fact, his secretaries are screwing him over, Howard Lutnick to be specific, who Donald Trump is now screaming, exploding at, and threatening as all hell breaks loose. We are going to get into it all and how Donald Trump is in complete panic mode. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into the explosive fight, the screaming match that took place between Trump and Lutnick, we have to start with a breakdown of all we have learned today, some new breaking news, and that all comes from Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah, so number one, it is clear that he knew what was going on, which I think that he's kind of alluded to that at some point in time because the president said that he was trying to kick Ghislaine out of Mar-a-Lago because it seems like that's where girls were being recruited from based on information that we have. But more importantly is that he was having conversation, he being Jeffrey Epstein, with Michael Wolff, who is writing this book or trying to put together this book. And in real time, as Trump is running for his first presidential run, we hear or we see that he made it clear that he believes that he has leverage over Trump. And he said that a Trump regime would basically open up, this is me paraphrasing, this is not exactly what he said, but basically it'd be a free-for-all. And as we've seen, especially in this second term, it's been a free-for-all where Trump has absolutely pardoned some folk that we know are terrible, and we are waiting on him to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. I think that that's coming up soon, too.
Yeah, an important point indeed. Congresswoman, let's take a closer look at that email from Epstein where he writes to the author Michael Wolff saying this, and it's a direct quote, redacted victim, the name was redacted. Mar-a-Lago, Trump said he asked me to resign, never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Obviously, we don't have the full context here, but I'm curious, how do you read this specific email and what it means?
Yeah, I think that it is showing that he was well aware and he was trying to cover his tracks at that point in time. And I think that that's what you saw from Jeffrey. Obviously, it'd be better if we could talk to Jeffrey today, but it was very interesting that ultimately Jeffrey Epstein died sitting in prison during Trump's administration.
We had on Representative Marlin Stutzman earlier. He's a Republican, and he tried to make the case that President Trump is the most investigated person in the world, and he has not been accused of any criminal wrongdoing here. What do you make of that?
Listen, they will do and say anything to cover themselves. You know, I will admit that Donald Trump has been investigated more than the normal, but he just happens to be more corrupt and more criminal than any other president than we've had. I will point out he is the only president who has been convicted of 34 felony convictions that we've ever had in the Oval Office. So while we don't know exactly what crimes he may or may not have committed, just think of it this way. If you know that you didn't do anything, then why is it that you would be twisting members of your own party's arms, trying to get them not to release it? This would be exonerating. If you know that you are free and clear, then why not say, you know what, release the files? In fact, he campaigned on releasing the files because he didn't realize that anything that he was involved in whatsoever was involved in the files. But let me tell you something. Another thing that was said in that other email that he had with Michael Wolff was he was talking about if he wants to basically play hardball. We will make mention of the fact that he really has been on the plane.
We know this has been a cover-up from the start, and when I say the start, I mean decades ago. In my opinion, there is more than just the Epstein files to the Epstein files. I think there is so much more information that is out there that isn't under the purview of a Pam Bondi or a Kash Patel, that if you spoke to Ghislaine Maxwell, if she wasn't being pampered in a Trump hotel prison right now, she would have a lot more to tell you. And what we saw this morning is just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much else out there. And a person who made the case for that there is more Epstein evidence that the DOJ might not have, the prosecutors in Florida or in New York might not have been able to get their hands on, was a member of Donald Trump's cabinet. Howard Lutnick said this in a clip we're going to check out right now, and then read an article about how Trump is blowing up at him.
That's what his MO was, get a massage, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever.
Trump went nuclear at blundering cabinet ally over his Epstein interview. Donald Trump reportedly exploded over an interview his commerce chief gave about Jeffrey Epstein's wealthy connections, according to a report published as explosive new documents are made public. House Democrats on Wednesday released a set of emails from Epstein that suggest Trump, 79, knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop, a reference to Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. The emails come after The Atlantic reported that Trump and his top aides went nuclear after learning that Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, 64, had given an interview to the New York Post Pod Force One podcast about his former Manhattan neighbor Epstein. In it, Lutnick himself, a billionaire financier, recounted how, when he lived next door to Epstein's Upper East Side mansion in New York City, the pedophile gave him a tour of the house and showed him and his wife a massage table. Lutnick told the Post's Miranda Devine that he then decided never to be in the room with that disgusting person again. Lutnick added that Epstein likely kept tapes of scores of massage-receiving wealthy associates, dubbing him the greatest blackmailer ever. His remarks infuriated Trump, according to a confidant quoted by The Atlantic, because they revived an issue the White House has long labored to bury amid bipartisan demands for transparency. But the grubby matter has exploded into the open again with Wednesday's email release and one April 2011 message to Ghislaine Maxwell. Epstein called Trump the dog that hasn't barked, adding that a victim spent hours at my house with him, and he has never once been mentioned. In a January 2019 email to author Michael Wolff, Epstein wrote, "Of course he knew about the girls," as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee say the emails drawn from documents obtained from Epstein's estate raise fresh questions about the relationship between the two men and about the administration's decision to backtrack on a promise to fully release Epstein-related records. Let's get something straight real quick before we dive into this explosion from Trump. Everyone in the White House today who is in a communications role, whether that be Carolyn Levitt, Donald Trump's Truth Social posting, is calling this a hoax. They are still doubling down on the lie that Epstein, having abused a countless number of women and young girls, is a hoax. Even with those survivors speaking up, they're saying that it's a hoax, it's perpetrated by the Democrats. And that Donald Trump hasn't been blackmailed, that there's nothing that Epstein has on him, that there's no reason to, release the files, even though they're claiming that there's nothing in it harmful to Donald Trump. Well, if that is the case, why would Donald Trump get so upset at Howard Lutnick saying that Epstein was the greatest blackmailer? If there was no blackmail on Trump, that would just be another drop in the Epstein bucket. But it seems like that is what Donald Trump is worried about most. People thinking about or figuring out or finally seeing what Epstein has on him. Donald Trump was referred to by Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein as the dog who hasn't barked. In that correspondence between Epstein and Michael Wolff, we saw Wolff say that this could be a debt that Donald Trump owes to Epstein if Epstein did not go public with their relationship and the nature of the criminality, the time Trump spent with victims. So why did Howard Lutnick get Donald Trump so specifically upset with those comments? The greatest blackmailer ever. There's so much video that we haven't been able to see. There's been a lot of documents. There have been a lot of letters. But video has eluded us. The only video we've gotten has been edited by Pam Bondi and the DOJ. But that video from Epstein's house that was supposedly in his safe in Palm Beach, that was destroyed, that was seized, that was done away with, we haven't heard a lot about that video. And that video could still be out there. That's why I'm saying I'm more interested in what hasn't been said to be in the Epstein files than maybe even what has. And I think it's some of that video. That's what I'm really interested in. That's what I want to know more about. I want to know more about that video. I want to know more about the potential blackmail. What is Donald Trump so scared of? We know what he's so scared of. But then again, how could it be a hoax, Donald? What about this is then a hoax? They're not making a very good argument, are they? Carolyn Levitt doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's funny because they've really shot themselves in the foot with this one. The reporting around Donald Trump's meeting with Lauren Boebert, the calls that he made apparently waking her up early this morning because he was so panicked, he was so frantic. The call that Donald Trump made supposedly, reportedly, has Lauren Boebert doubling down because she sees what we see. If you're working so hard to cover it up, it must be pretty damning. There must be some conspiracy there. I will also say I find it hysterical, and a story that has no comedy in it, that Donald Trump's administration has pushed for 8 weeks the swearing in of Adelita Grijalva for that very reason, Jeffrey Epstein. So they've had extra time to try to get ready to stop a vote, to stop a signature on this discharge petition, and they haven't been able to do that. This White House is so incompetent that they can't even cover up correctly. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy to me. And it's the reason Democrats have to continue to push. Robert Garcia, maybe chief among those Democrats, is certainly doing that, though. And I want to hear from him right here.
What do you hope comes of this release of these emails today?
Well, what we hope is that the White House fully release the Epstein files. I mean, they have right now in possession the entire files. And I think the emails that were released today, again, just raise so many more questions. It's clear that Donald Trump had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein is talking about, I think, pretty serious stuff, disturbing stuff in these emails. And I think it once again asks the question is why won't Donald Trump fulfill his campaign promise and release all the files?
What do you say to Republicans' accusations that you guys aren't releasing all of these with the full context?
We release everything that we get. And so people can look and read the emails and make the judgment for themselves. We encourage people to do so. We also think that Republicans should release everything they have in their possession, as we do as well. And so we want every single piece of correspondence to be released. And what I would ask my Republican colleagues and friends, if they really wanted to get this case solved, they should call on the president to release all the files.
Donald Trump is fighting with his own base. He is fighting with Republicans in Congress. He is fighting with his own cabinet. Donald Trump isn't fighting anymore. He's flailing. Let's use the word flailing. This is a weak, declining, confused man who's seeing his presidency come to an end. And we're really going to soak that up and soak it in. And we're going to be covering it on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.